All right, everybody, welcome back to Bourbon Flights OKC. Eric, as always, with my co-host Jason, and today is episode number 12. It is a 12-year... How perfect is this? Episode 12, and it's a 12-year bourbon face-off, 1792 Jack Daniel's Batch 1 and Weller. I don't even think we realized it was episode number 12.
No,
but
I didn't either.
That's just how the way the world works, I suppose. And I also texted you yesterday, and I said, oh my God, we don't have an episode to put out on Wednesday.
Yep.
And we were going to try to do it last night, but that didn't work out. And so here we are doing it the hours before we're supposed to release it.
Yep. Nothing but a rush job.
So we have two bottles that are pretty obvious as to what they are, and a very small bottle which was gifted as a sample. Do you want to kind of get into what that is and where you got it from?
Yeah, so that is from our friend Brighton over at the Whiskey Cabinet. That is a sample of the Jack Daniel's 12-year Batch 1. Not the Batch 2 that's out now, but the Batch 1.
And I believe the Batch 1 is believed to be better than the Batch 2. Is that correct?
Okay. Yes.
Awesome. And then you also brought the 1792.
Yes.
And you've had that for a little while, but I don't think you've had it yet, correct?
No, I have not had that. That is from our friend Nacho out at Camelot.
Our man.
And I'm going to get the address right this time. 122nd and Penn.
There you go. I think he corrected you on that, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He laid into me pretty hard
Nice.
about that, and I promised I would correct that. So
good. Yeah, we love Nacho out there. And then I have brought the Weller 12, which, as you can tell, I've had open for a little while. But I think that was kind of another good 12-year that we've enjoyed in the past, and figured it would be a good one to have on the podcast today. So, as we always do, we're just going to run through a brief overview. We'll talk about where we got these, how much they were, just a little bit of a rundown on each bourbon that we have here, and then we'll pour it up, and we'll get to it. The first year, I'll just go your right to left, so our left to right. First one is the 1792 12-year. It is a straight bourbon from the Savor Company. It is distilled by Barton 1792 Distillery. It released this summer, and it's part of an annual release. I think they do like a different one every summer, is what I am led to believe. The proof is 96.6. The age is 12. The mash bill is undisclosed, but it's marketed as a high rye mash bill and believed to be 15 to 25% rye. MSRP for this is $60, but as we know, it's pretty allocated, right? Did you find this on an allocated shelf somewhere?
No, this Nacho had this one allocated back.
Nice.
And I believe he charged me $65.
There you go. Almost MSRP. That's $5 over. We'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, Camelot, they're really fair on their prices.
And I mean, I think even just finding that too, I see the 1792 small batch quite a bit, but the 12-year is... I don't know if I've seen it anywhere.
Yeah, I've seen it in a few places, but they only seem to get like 2 bottles at a time, it seems like.
And hold it back for their best customers. So in the little bottle this is the Jack Daniel's 12-year Batch 1, and it is Tennessee whiskey. It's not technically a bourbon, but it's 12 years, and we've heard amazing things about the Batch 1. We've had the Batch 2. It was okay.
It was okay. Yeah.
But the Batch 1 I've heard good things about. So this is obviously made by the Jack Daniel Distillery. It is a Tennessee whiskey. It is 80% corn, 8% rye, and 12% malted barley. The proof is 107. It's aged 12 years, of course. And if we had the bottle, it would say Batch 01 on the front, which was the first batch made available in March of 2023, alongside the 10-year Batch 2.
Yeah.
So they did 10-year Batch 1. I don't even remember when that was. But then they did 10-year Batch 2, and they came out with this, which is the Batch 1 of the 12. And now, of course, what's on the shelves now, if you were going to go look, unless you find somebody that squirreled one away, is going to be the Batch 2.
Correct.
Running through the last one here is the Weller 12. It's a straight bourbon from the Savor Company, distilled by Buffalo Trace. The release date was fall 2023. The proof is 90. The age is, of course, 12 years. The mash bill, as with most Sazerac and Buffalo Trace products, is undisclosed, and MSRP is $70. I didn't pay for this. Actually, we have 2 gifts from Brighton here.
Oh, yeah, that is
because
right.
Brighton gifted us the sample of the Jack Daniel's 12, and then he also gifted me that bottle of Weller 12. So I don't know what that would have sold for at the Whiskey Cabinet. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't seen it on the shelves there. Yeah. And you said you paid $65
for and
that was it.
Camelot.
God, I always want to say Calumet. Why do I do that? I don't know. Maybe because I'm thinking of like the Calumet bourbon. I don't know. All right. Anything else you want to get into before we start pouring these? And
No.
do you want to tell them that you were recognized the other day?
I figured I'd save that for
okay.
after.
We'll tell that after. We'll tell that after. Jason's starting to be recognized around town. So autographs are $5 now. Pictures are $10.
I'll settle for a like and subscribe.
That's right. Yeah, I think we need to mention that. We always fail to mention that. If you guys are enjoying the podcast, here we are in episode 12. Please give us a like, a follow. It means so much to us. We're not doing this for money. We spend a lot of our own money to do this, so it means the world to us when we get either, a like, a subscribe. People see us out somewhere and say, hey, I really enjoyed the last episode.
Yeah.
It means so much to us because this is just fun and it's a hobby and we do this pretty much anyway, so why not film it, right?
Right. And plus let people know there are other good bourbons out there you can get off the shelf.
Absolutely. We're just two normal Joes that really are just getting into bourbon, and we have a story about that later as well.
Yes.
But all right, let's pour these up. Let's give them a taste, and then we can tell the stories and all that good
Sounds
stuff after
good.
we've got a little bourbon.
Business
They'll
first.
probably be funnier when we have a little bourbon in us anyway. So.
Probably.
All right, perfect. Well, we'll be right back. We're going to pour these up, and stay tuned. All right, everybody, welcome back to episode 12, our big 12-year face-off here. We didn't really spill anything today, which was good.
Oh, man, you had to say that.
Oh, did I just jinx it?
You did.
it's
Most
all right.
likely.
Hey, I believe in us. I believe in us.
I believe we will spill.
So we're going to start off with the Weller 12, which we've had before. I like it. I think it's way better than the Special Reserve, the green bottle.
Yeah.
I don't think I like it as much as the Antique 107.
I agree with that.
You're on board with that?
Yes.
Again, so this is a Buffalo Trace product. The proof is 90. Mash bill's undisclosed. $70 MSRP. And this is a wheated bourbon, so this will taste a little bit different than the other two. Not hot at all.
Oh.
For being 12-year. I mean, it's only 90 proof though, so it's not going to be super super hot.
You get a little bit of that spice.
Yeah. A little heat on the back end, but it's not too bad.
It fades fast. It's a little oily.
Yeah, definitely a little oily. I would agree with that. You get the caramel, the vanilla, the charred oak right away. I almost got like I don't know. There's definitely some leather in there. Maybe a little toffee for me.
It almost has
Or maybe it's like salted caramel. I think that's what it is for me, is salted caramel.
Yeah.
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 So they're saying the nose was the caramel, vanilla, charred oak, and you get an amalgamation of apple, apricot, and cherry. The palate, you get
Maybe
the
a
warm
cherry.
red fruits. The red fruits are back. Whatever the hell those. We still haven't figured out what those are.
If anybody knows what a red fruit is, please send us one.
Yeah.
Or at least a picture of one.
So they do say sweet charred oak and vanilla caramel candy. Maybe that's what I'm getting is like caramel candy, but for me it's like a little bit like salted caramel candy.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that.
And I mean, it's pretty straight shooting after that. I mean, it's just really those, the red fruit, the caramel, the vanilla, the oak, and more so that like caramel candy.
Yeah, it has a little bit of a bitter taste to me, but I will say this, the heat and the spice, it fades pretty fast.
Yeah, it doesn't linger.
It
No,
does not
definitely
at
not.
all.
No.
Yeah.
I like this one. Again, I think the
not
Antique
bad.
107 is a little bit better. On the finish, because we were kind of just talking about that, just the right intensity. I don't know if I agree with that. I think it's a little bit, as you said, bitter, maybe a little harsh.
Yeah.
But it dies off pretty quickly.
Yeah.
There's oak, there's cinnamon, toasted pecans, apparently. Your favorite.
Maybe that's what it is. The
The bitter pecan taste.
It's me being bitter.
And one thing, as you've watched over the past few episodes, what I've said is I don't like a lot of cinnamon. Not a lot of cinnamon in here.
No.
I mean, I don't even really know if I notice it at all.
Yeah, I don't
because
get
I
any
hate
cinnamon.
when it just leaves that like cinnamon big red gum.
Like Fireball. Or,
Yeah. Oh
Ugh.
God. Let's not even get into Fireball. That should be on our worst bourbon whiskey or whatever review. Cause it's not a bourbon. Is it even a whiskey technically?
I'm not even sure what it is.
I don't know.
Just,
It's so bad. So bad. All right. Shall we move on?
yes.
All right. So this is the 1792 12 year. This is from Sazerac, but it's from the Barton 1792 part of Sazerac. And it's undisclosed mash bill, but again, it's a high rye, and it's believed to be 15 to 25% rye. I like rye. I don't know how you feel about it. I mean, you have that terrible bottle of it's barrel.
It's a barrel rye.
Oh God, it's awful.
There's like no smell of any heat to that.
No, there's no heat. Again, it's not overly complicated on the nose.
It's kind of sweet.
It's good.
It is good.
It's really good. For $65, I'd buy that all day long.
Yeah,
that is good stuff.
And there's just a little bit of heat, or I would say more. I think it's a little more spice in it, but it's not like overpowering.
Yeah,
like
I get spice. I don't really get a lot of heat at all, to be honest with you. So there on the nose, they were talking about, again, caramel, vanilla, oak, raspberry, and glazed donut.
I can smell the glazed donut. Maybe that's because I stopped eating sugar and now everything.
I mean, I smell sweetness, but I don't know if I can put my finger necessarily on like, oh yeah, this is like a Krispy Kreme or a Dunkin' Donuts donut, you know? I don't think, again, maybe it's just my palate's not that refined, but I just get sugar or sweetness, whatever you want to call it.
I get a little more oak on this, but it's not like overpowering. It's like just the right amount, it seems like. So you can taste it, but it's not.
On the palate or?
On the palate.
Okay.
Yeah, on the palate.
So they're talking about on the palate, milk chocolate, brown sugar, and nougat. Okay.
It is sweet. I did say it was sweet first thing.
Am I getting brown sugar though is the question. Are you going to be okay over there?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, okay. I'm not.
I don't get the chocolate.
I don't get the chocolate.
Maybe the nougat though.
Maybe just because it's kind of that.
But that's almost like
dry. No, nougat's like dry. It's like, isn't it like shitty chocolate basically? Like, isn't it just really dry?
No, it's like it's almost like a caramel type thing.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you positive?
No.
Yeah, from the guy that hates chocolate. Yeah, I definitely know what this is.
No, but I mean, it's definitely not chocolate.
And that's really it other than the normal three. So the finish makes sense now that I'm reading it. Rye spice is what we're getting on the end of that. Is that rye spiciness.
Yeah. But it's not overpowering. It's good. It's like just the right amount of everything.
Oh yeah, it's perfect. It's a little fruity, which they talk about in here. Mixed nuts, graham crackers, cocoa nibs.
What are cocoa nibs?
They're like I think they're actually like the cocoa.
Little pieces of the bean?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I'd like to look up what a nougat and what cocoa nibs are. Maybe we'll do that on the break and come back with our research. I really like it.
I do too.
I think it's a great one.
I'm going to drink the whole thing.
I think it's nice because it's for people that like rye or like pretty much exclusively rye, they're going to enjoy this. People that are just starting to get into rye that are more bourbon people are going to like this. It's kind of a nice blend for everybody really to enjoy. So
I mean, what a good way to, if you're just moving into rye, this is a good one to start because it's
for sure.
Rye.
And I mean, the bottle is also super cool. We didn't even mention that before. I think that's one of the best looking bottles on the shelf. Yeah, I mean, it's just classy, like with the gold 1792, the gold top.
Yeah.
It looks the uniqueness of the bottle. Yeah, exactly. It's pretty cool. All right, so we're going to move into the third and the final one, which is the Jack Daniel's 12-year. We got to be careful because we don't have a lot of this.
Yeah.
And I would like to try it with a little bit of ice just to see what happens to it. But so Jack Daniel's 12, again, this is from Jack Daniel's. It's a Tennessee whiskey, 80% corn, 8% rye, 12% malted barley, and the proof is 107.
Now, we've had the batch 2 at Cachet, and it was okay. It's not something I would run out and buy. But so we'll see what batch 1. We keep hearing, like you said, batch 1 is way better.
So I can already tell you that it smells way better than the batch 1 does.
You mean batch 2?
Yes. Batch 1 smells better than batch 2. Yes. Not a lot of heat. It's it's pretty dark. Like it's
almost like something like a dark fruit.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the red.
It's not
fruits.
as light, or maybe it's just darker oak. I'm not sure. I mean, it's just not real strong smell. No, it's not. Which really I'm okay with, because I mean there's no heat on it either, right?
Yeah, there's not.
They're talking about dusty oak and molasses, pepper, anise, and this smells apparently like rough linen. I don't even know.
I don't know what rough.
So this one is from the other two that the reviews were from breakingbourbon.com, which we know and love. This is from the Among the Whiskey, which they seem to kind of go a little bit. I don't know how they like. What does rough linen smell like? But even if you know what that smells like, most people don't. And why would you even bring that up? Because nobody's going to know.
Right.
Like we are, like right now, we're having a conversation about like, what is that even? How does that help anybody?
The only thing I can think of is I bought a linen shirt in Hawaii one time, and before I took it home and washed it, it smelled like a fishing net.
Well, I can assure you this doesn't smell like fish, so that's good.
Yes. So,
let's see. It tastes good. Heat on the back end for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of both heat and spice.
It's like sweet, spicy, and a little bit of heat. The heat fades. It's a slower fade than the...
and you still get... You might think I'm crazy by saying this. If I drink regular Jack Daniels, I almost get like splintery, like kind of that... Not that I'm tasting splinters, but it's like it feels splintery as it goes down. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Like a little bit of a burn.
Yeah, but it's like prickly almost as it goes down.
Okay.
And I got the same thing off of this that I get off of just drinking regular Jack Daniels.
You can still... Man, I don't know if it's the same mash bill or not as regular Jack, but it still tastes like regular Jack, just a lot better.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's a little bit more in depth than regular Jack, but there's still that kind of underlying. And again, maybe it's the fact that we know it's Jack Daniels, where it's like, oh, we're drinking Jack. You know what I mean? On the palate, there's a lot in here, so I'm just gonna kind of rip off the Band-Aid here. Soft caramel chews, sherry and vanilla wafers, lemon meringue pie, cherry blossom, honeysuckle, and fresh buttered toast.
I actually get the fresh buttered toast.
Vanilla and oak dominate the glass. I would agree with that. Soft crepe meets butter and a drizzle of caramel completes an easy sip. And I do think it's a pretty easy sipping whiskey.
Okay, I see what you mean about the tingling down the throat.
And it's not terrible. It's just like I remember as a young man drinking, the cheap regular Jack Daniels with friends, and that was like my most notable memory of drinking Jack Daniels is like that little splintery feeling as it goes down the back of your throat, which I don't really care for.
I don't think I have any good memories on Jack. I have a few ones I'd like to forget.
Yeah, I guess good and bad memories. I don't know. Yeah. It's all subjective, right?
Yeah. So it's good though.
It's good. It's much better than regular Jack. That's for sure.
I think it is. I'm gonna say it's better than Batch 2. I like it better.
I would as well.
Yeah,
I would as well.
I was not impressed with Batch 2. It was okay, but it was nowhere. Yeah.
Did you look up how much a bottle of this goes for, the Jack 12?
The Jack 12 I saw for the lowest price I saw was $149.
Ooh.
And $169, but most secondary market it was like $349.
I really couldn't say that I would. Do they have an MSRP in here? They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I could get on board with that for how much money that is. All right. Is it time to ice?
It's time to ice.
All right. We're going to throw some ice in this stuff. We'll be right back, and we'll see what, if anything, changes, and maybe it gets rid of that kind of splinteriness on the Jack Daniels.
All right. Sounds good.
We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back to Bourbon Flights OKC. This is the 12-year face-off. We've got some, just one cube of ice in each glass just to kind of open up, cool it down a little bit. It was a hot one today in Oklahoma City. So
yes, humid.
It was gross. It was gross. Yeah. So I did 2 flights today, and sitting on the ground when your air conditioning kind of works, it's rough. But I digress. All right, so let's just same order, right? So This is Weller 12 again. Again, I like this. I think if I was given a choice, I'd pick the 107.
Yeah,
because I think they're roughly the same price, aren't they?
I don't know. I don't know what the Weller. I haven't seen Weller 12-year out.
I'm trying to think what I bought that antique for. Can't remember.
62, I think.
Were you with me when we bought it?
I bought it and brought it back for you. You sent me
Oh,
back.
yes.
You sent me back to get it, and the guy walked out with a case.
Yeah. So
But I
okay,
got one
that's really
bottle.
not bad. I mean, this is MSRP. I think it's 70. So yeah, I'd take Antique 107 all day long. Really. Kind of dulls it a little bit.
Yeah. It gives it a little more earthy taste.
Yeah, and definitely like it's just mostly like the caramel, vanilla, oaky stuff. You kind of lose some of the other aspects of it that we were talking about earlier. So since we're drinking Weller, I think you wanted to mention to some folks about the Antique 107.
Oh, well, no, I wasn't going to mention that, but I was going to mention the store.
Okay.
So I went and had a conversation with, I went into Kicking Bird Liquor and was talking to them about some of the things I saw on the internet and the complaints about prices and staff and stuff. And
you've had a great experience there every time you've gone in, right?
Yeah. And I've only been in one other time before since we moved back. But basically the store has been sold and there's a new owner. She bought it 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
Her name's Carla. She's an Army veteran, and her manager is also named Carla there. But they are aware of
Carlas at Kicking Bird.
Yes, they're aware of the bad reputation the store had, and they're trying to change things. And they're very personal. Always been very nice, willing to help. When I walked in, I had great conversations with them. So I'm with it being new ownership and everything. I think she was aware that the prices were high, so she's brought prices down. And, so I would say they would be deserving of a second chance. So if you're in that area, go by, talk to them. I think you'll be surprised what a big turnaround there's been. She's getting more into the bourbons and getting more in. We had a nice conversation about them, and we hoping to see her out at Provisions.
I think she just joined, didn't she? Yeah.
So,
and I think we should go in there and do a little promo for them too, because I've never met her, but she's been extremely nice to the podcast, extremely nice to you. I still need to go out and meet both Carlas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think everybody deserves a second chance, right? And especially, new ownership and we've all had that experience where you go and you eat a meal and it's amazing, and then you later go to leave a review yourself and it's like, wow, that place had terrible reviews. Like, why did we even go there?
Yeah.
Well, and it's like because things change, right? Like in the case of restaurants, chefs change, staff changes. In this case, owners change. And I think, I from everything that I've heard, I think you guys owe it to yourselves to go check out Kicking Bird and talk to Carla. And
she's got some good bourbons in there.
Yeah, and she just seems like a nice person
how
too.
She's going to deal with her allocations and stuff. She's trying to make it as fair as possible, but she also wants to take care of her regular customers, and we kind of talked about that and what other places are doing. But definitely this is all those bad things you read were not her doing, and her staff's doing. So, she's got a lot of cooperation now. Even the owner of the building likes what's going on there, likes her, and is helping her out and cooperating, and doing what he can to help her. And he did not like the last people, apparently. So, go by, check them out, talk to either one of the Carlas. You won't regret it.
Yeah, awesome.
Give them a second chance.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds. I still need to go down there and meet them, and maybe do a little filming promo in there for them as well. A little TikTok action.
Yeah, I was trying to talk her into coming onto the show.
It'll happen.
She's trying to play shy, so
it'll happen.
Maybe we can get her husband on. He's an Air Force veteran as well.
Oh yeah, nice. I'll just get enough bourbon in her. Maybe she'll,
Yeah.
Come on.
Right.
That's right. I mean, that's kind of what we had to do in our first couple episodes was.
Yeah. And that's what I tell people. It's like, man, I was so self-conscious about it. Now it's just like,
we're just hanging out. We're just hanging out drinking bourbon.
Just talking to friends.
That's right. So let's move on to the 1792. I think out of the three, this is my personal favorite.
Yeah, so far, absolutely.
And I'm hoping that this ice doesn't get rid of some of these flavors.
I know, I'm afraid now.
You know what I get a little bit more that I didn't really get at all before is the chocolate.
See, I'd get like a real sweet on the front end.
Yeah. Which is that then, so the confectioner sugar is kind of what they were talking about. Honey, maybe raspberry honey and confectioner sugar.
Yeah, because it's almost like a red fruit.
A red fruit.
But as it goes back, I get a little spice on the back of the tongue, and it fades real nice. And man, that is good.
It's changed it, but I don't. And it's dulled some things, but I think it's also brought out, like, I didn't really get the chocolate at all. And now I'm starting to get that chocolate. I think the brown sugar went away for me. I do agree with the sweetness. I just don't think it's as, like, I can't pinpoint that it's brown sugar anymore, you know?
Yeah.
I still like to know what a nougat is. You know what? I'm going to look it up. We're going to do it. We'll do it live. What is a nougat? There's going to be people out there like, they don't know what a nougat is?
Yeah.
Nougat is a family of confections made with sugar or honey, roasted nuts, whipped egg whites, and sometimes chopped candied fruit. So we were both completely incorrect. There's no caramel and there's no chocolate.
Okay.
I'm also going to look up cocoa nibs. What are cocoa nibs? Cocoa nibs are highly nutritious, providing an impressive amount of protein, fiber, healthy fats, minerals, and plant compounds like flavonoids. What the hell is a flavonoid?
Oh, boy. Here we go.
We're really diving down the rabbit hole. But hey, at least, we learned something today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and thanks to Nacho for recommending this. And
it's a great bottle. It is such a good drink. I'm glad that you waited to open it for the podcast so we can get kind of like the blind reaction to it.
Well, after going over to that bottle share, I came to the realization.
Oh, man.
There's just drink and enjoy it.
Do we want to dive into that right now?
We can wait till whenever you want to talk about it.
All right, let's finish the Jack, and then we'll... Because I think somebody brought a Jack 12 there. I didn't have any of it.
I didn't either. There was so much bourbon there.
Oh, my God. I wish I had taken a picture of the table, and I didn't. But anyway,
either.
let's finish up with Jack, and then we can dive into the bourbon room story.
It almost smells chocolatey.
It tastes a little chocolatey, too. I don't like that as much on the ice.
No.
It's like chalky almost. It does get rid of the like little splintery like aspect of it, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
No. We got a pretty pretty complex review, but I'm not really getting any of it now.
Yeah, I don't like that.
No.
Not on ice.
Not on ice. Neat was good.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and we've run into that before where some are just better neat and some are just not.
Yeah, I think the main overarching theme on the ice is it just cools down. If there's any heat, it cools that heat off.
Yeah.
But I do think 90-ish% of the time it kind of dulls the flavor.
It seems spicier with the water.
Really? I don't agree with the spiciness. I just think it's like dry, a little chalky to me. I don't know.
Get the whole Fire Marshal Bill thing going on.
Yeah, that's right. Super dry mouth. So I guess we'll just go into the story without any real segue at all. We went to a friend's house.
Yeah, don't.
We went to a friend's house. Very, very nice guy. One of our good new friends, I would say, since really joining Rose Creek and starting this podcast. I want your first reaction when you walked into that bourbon room.
You did not hear what I said when I first walked in. I said, "This is my Graceland."
Yeah, I think I said something along the lines of "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
So it is a pool room.
Yes.
What is designed to be a pool room, and there is a pool table.
There is.
Lining the walls are
all the way around,
and in the
closet,
in the closet, from the floor to the ceiling, are bottles of bourbon.
Everything you can think of.
If you can think of a bottle, this person has it.
Yes.
And he probably has 5 of them.
We even brought up the podcast with the Mellow Corn Bottled in Bond and the Ancient Age Preferred.
As a joke, right?
And he had them both.
He had them both.
But
he also had that like crazy, that other Ancient Age 10.
Yeah.
Like, which was just funny. And it honestly wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But it was an eye-opening experience. I mean, so he has this cover for this pool table. It's a hard cover, and we just did a bottle share thing. So like I brought a bottle, you brought a couple bottles. I felt bad that I only brought one, but I didn't know what I was getting into.
Yeah.
That table was covered in bottles by the end of the night.
Yeah. There was
there had to have been 50 bottles on the table.
Yeah. And what a great host and hostess they were. And even everybody that was there were so fantastic. I mean, it was like an education.
Yeah. And I mean, we went in, I think, with like, we're not experts, but we kind of know what's going on. And we just got schooled, basically.
Oh, yeah. But the information we got was
it was incredible. And, we saw things in bottles that we'd never seen before. We tried things we never saw before. We got my wife and your wife to drink Caribou, which they enjoyed.
They both liked.
I'm not a huge fan of, but
okay to be wrong.
That's right. But yeah, that was...
Well, and what was nice, too, is they asked me what I liked, and I told, like right now my favorite is Elmer T. Lee. And they said, oh, well, if you like that. And then they brought out, was it John J. Bowman?
John J. Bowman, yeah. Oh, my God, what a bottle.
That was like Elmer T. Lee, but with more flavor. And then they brought out that Rock Hill Farms.
That might be my favorite bottle of bourbon I've ever had.
I'm going to have to agree with that. That was fantastic.
That was unbelievable.
And thank you again to our host for letting us try all those.
It was awesome. We did, they had E.H. Taylor, small batch, and single barrel. They had, I didn't try it, but they had like almost all the Still Austin stuff, which I found out like later after I had already had way too much bourbon and was playing poker and smoking cigars. But it was like... Obviously, they've done this, right? Because they're like, hey, you need to drink water.
Yep.
They had like a water pitcher for you to pour your used, get the rest of the bourbon out of your cup.
Rinse them, right.
Sandwiches were served, which to soak up the bourbon. I mean, that
was a class act.
That was an awesome evening. I hope we get to do more of those.
I do too. I hope they'll have us back because that was a great time.
That was so fun. And I will definitely... I know you're going to be watching this. I won't, again, not going to mention your name, but thank you so much. And I will definitely bring more than one bottle of bourbon this time. I felt really bad that I only brought one, but I also didn't know what I was getting into. And he even said, he goes, I did that on purpose so that you guys would kind of get to experience what whiskey night is over here.
And it was unbelievable. And cool thing was, we're standing in there and I hear someone's voice.
Oh yeah.
That I hadn't heard since high school. And in walks a guy that I went to high school with. We played Little League football together. And so that was nice getting to talk to him and
drink bourbon with him. And
drink bourbon.
Smoke cigars.
And he has an incredible knowledge of bourbon as well. Which I'll have to hammer him and try to get him on the podcast as well.
I think that guy that you're talking about, I think he has all the Midsummer Night Drams, like every act of them, which I've never had. I know the Gentleman's House we went to, he has a few of them. I've never had it, but yeah, that's I think that's one of my bucket lists is I hear such good things about the Midsummer Night Dram stuff. Same thing with the Still Austin stuff. I want to try those. But yeah, I would really like to find a bottle of Rock Hill Farms.
Yeah, that was
an unbelievable bottle for
amazing.
Sure. All right, we're gonna hear a quick word from our sponsor, and then we'll be right back to close it out. The Bourbon Flights OKC podcast is proudly sponsored by Bark Brew Coffee. Dive into the rich, bold world of Bark Brew Coffee, where every sip supports shelter dogs in need. Ethically sourced and craft roasted, our coffee brings a new level of depth to your morning routine. For the bourbon enthusiasts out there, our blends are the perfect companion to your favorite spirit. Exclusively for listeners of this podcast, enjoy 10% off your order with code BARK10 at checkout. Elevate your coffee experience with Bark Brew Coffee at barkbrewcoffee.com. Cheers to great mornings and even greater causes. Cheers. All right, welcome back to Bourbon Flights OKC. We also wanted to thank I'm not going to mention their first names, but I'll mention their last, I guess, right?
Yep.
The Gilberts. Yeah. We had an awesome time over at their house was that Memorial Day? Memorial Day.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us. He's just starting to get into bourbons. I know he did an allocated sale. I think he had the 1792 small batch over there. We also had, what was the one that we all drank? I can't remember.
Oh, jeez.
I know he's got Blanton's. He's got Eagle Rare. He bought a bottle of Eagle Rare from you.
Yeah. But he gave that to his father.
Correct. But I think he had another bottle of it. But yeah, he's just starting to get into it. So it's always nice going over there because he always picks our brain about stuff. Not that we're or claim to be experts on the subject. But it was a nice time, hanging out with new friends. We just recently met them at the club, and thank you again for having us. We really appreciate it. And
the barbecue was fantastic.
Oh man, that pulled pork
was good.
Yeah, we'll have to get him over here and get him on the podcast for sure.
Yeah, absolutely,
definitely. All right, any takeaways from this?
I would have to say I really like that 1792.
Yeah, I would agree. Do we want to rank these?
Sure.
I guess not. I don't care. What would and let's just do neat.
Neat.
What would you give the Weller 12 neat?
I would give it a 7.5, 7 3/4.
Yeah, I think I'm right around there. I'm like a 7.3, maybe 7.2, 7.3.
It just seems like the flavor. It's good flavor, but it's gone quick.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Moving on to the 1792, the 12 year.
I'm gonna give that a 9.
Yeah. Man, 9 is so lofty.
I don't know. It's pretty good.
It is good. I'm gonna give it an 8.9. It's just almost there.
The Price is Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And our little bottle of Jack 12, batch numero uno.
The number one, I'm gonna give that 7.9 to an 8.
Yeah, I'm like a 7.7, 7.8, somewhere in there.
It still has a little bit. It's good, but it still tastes like Jack Daniels to me.
And like just knowing, the batch 2 for me is probably more around a 7. So it's definitely better than the 1 for sure. I'm glad that. Thank you to Brighton at Whiskey Cabinet for helping us out with that. That was a fun try.
Yeah. Brighton always has good suggestions.
Yeah, and Clint's awesome in there. We're such
Clint's
big
amazing.
Whiskey Cabinet fans, of course. We've mentioned them on the podcast all the time, but
them in Camelot. A lot.
Calumet. It's Camelot. And we got the address right. Yeah. And we got the Carlos over at Kicking Bird.
Yeah.
We have our friends at Bacchus as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we're making relationships. We're doing what we should be doing. Yeah. We're promoting small businesses.
I remembered what I wanted to say. So I walked into, I'm not going to name the store, but it was a very large liquor store. And it
was somewhere along May
Avenue, yes. North May Avenue. That's as close as we'll get. I won't give you the cross street. But anyway, I walked in, and in their allocation cabinet where they have, in the clear glass, they had a bottle of the Bullet single malt. Now, we have both had that. I picked that up in Dallas.
That's going on the most hated episode.
Yeah. I picked it up for like $49, $50 in Dallas, I think. And they had just one bottle sitting in there, and they had it priced at $125. And I asked, why so? Is this like a single barrel? Is this like a barrel pick?
Is it like a special edition?
Something special about it? And he said, it's their first single malt. It's hard to get. And I said, I've seen it at every liquor store I've been in today, and I'd been in 6.
Yep. And
everywhere.
It's bad.
And none of it was over $50-something.
Yep. And it's bad.
So if you see that for $125, pass, move down the street, go half a block, you'll find it.
Also, don't buy that bottle because it's...
I mean, so I did watch Bourbon Junkies. They like single malts. They liked it. I don't like single malts because it's too much like Scotch.
I don't mind single malts. I don't mind Scotch. That was just...
Well, I will defer to you.
It was abrasive on the palate, I would say.
It was abrasive.
It was abrasive.
It was an assault on your taste buds, huh?
It was not good.
But
again, different strokes for different folks. If you guys like that, if that's your thing, that's cool. For me, it's one of the worst bottles of bourbon I've ever had.
Well, it's not bourbon. It's single malt whiskey.
Okay, single malt whiskey.
Yeah. So
it's one of the worst bottles of whiskey I've ever had.
I would agree with that.
There you go.
Pretty bad.
Bad.
Just, keep in mind we'll try to let you guys know when we find good prices and people that are reasonable. That's why we bring up Camelot. That's why we bring up Whiskey Cabinet. That's why I'm bringing up Kicking Bird.
Yeah.
They've got their prices adjusted. They're not trying to rip people off. No. And there's some places out there, this same place that had it for $124, they also had a bottle of Penelope Rio for $300, and the Liquor Barn on Northwest Expressway had the same bottle for $120.
Yeah.
So they sell their allocations at secondary market prices. They're part of the problem.
Yep. Yeah, and you hate seeing that too, right? Because you get people that don't necessarily know, aren't in tune with the bourbon game. They go in there and they, a lot of people, when you start off, you think, oh, it's expensive, it must be good. And as we've proven on this podcast, and as we've shown, and as we've found out in our own, drinking of bourbons with friends and stuff like that, that's not always the case. And, there could be somebody that goes in there and they, they're spending their hard-earned $125 on a $50 bottle of bourbon that, even if they enjoy it, they're overspending by, $75.
Perfect point. I mentioned that when I was on that May Avenue on the last podcast, and the guy had the Buffalo Trace for $79. I just picked up a bottle at Chino's on Western in Britain for $28.
Like that, those people in Ponca.
Jeez.
We've got Buffalo Trace in the back. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah. Oh,
but
Lord.
yeah, we were up in Ponca last weekend. We had a great time. Thank you to your wife's brother. That was
Eric,
that was an awesome
Eric.
time. I got to harness my inner pyro and
got to drive a backhoe.
Got injured getting out of a fire truck. Fire department came.
Got to negotiate with the
Yes,
fire
but
department
yeah,
and why we had a huge fire.
Yeah, it was just a regular old Ponca City weekend. So, but thank you very much to your brother's family.
Why burn firewood when you can burn whole trees?
That's right. Just knock over whole trees and throw them in the fire. It's fine. But yeah, and we got it right. I mean, Ponca's a small town. They can only get what they get. But honestly, that first liquor store we went to, and I can't remember the name, Esther's and something. They were a little overpriced, but they had by far the best selection.
They had a
by
good selection.
far. They had a ton of awesome stuff in there. It was just a little overpriced, but again, they're out in really the middle of nowhere, so it's not like they have the access, and they also can kind of charge what they want for a lot of that stuff because nobody else around there is going to have it.
Yeah.
Not that I necessarily agree with that, but as a business, owner, I can kind of see how you want to play that game.
Yeah. And I spoke to my brother-in-law a little bit about it, and he talked to a friend he has that does a lot of bourbon. He's a traveler, and he just gets it when he's in Kentucky.
Yeah, and I was in Stillwater, and I should have gone bourbon hunting in Stillwater too, but we had went and visited a friend and went out to. They have a hatch up there now, that early morning mood food, and then we went to a brewery and hung out, and then we went to a local dive bar up there. We had a good day, but bourbon hunting was not involved. Yeah. All right. Anything else you'd like to say about these three bourbons?
No.
Any more good stories?
No. I like the 1792 12 years. If you can get it.
What would you pay for that? If I know it is allocated, but what do you think the max you would pay for it is?
I don't know. I'd probably pay $80 for that.
I might pay $100 for that bottle.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's a good. I mean, hey man, you rated it a 9.
Yeah, it is. It's good. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think I'd go over 100, but I'd pay. Yeah. I'd rather drink that than. And I'd rather drink and pay $100 for that than I would drink and pay $100 for Blanton's.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah,
especially $199 Blanton's.
Yeah,
it's not the anything
people are
special.
off their rocker. We could really dive back into that whole discussion, but all right. I think it is time to end. Again, do you have any?
Just Kicking Bird liquor. Give them a second chance.
Give them a whirl.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Danforth and
everybody deserves a second chance, right?
Right.
And especially when they're nice people.
Especially
and
it's
new
not
owners.
that was none of their doing, and they're just some people that bought a business, some veterans that bought a business, and are trying
to make it better.
Yeah, so
right?
give them a chance.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for joining us on this bourbon journey through OKC. Remember, there's a world of bourbon out there waiting to be explored, one sip at a time. Until next time, keep your glasses full and your spirits high. Cheers.
Cheers.